Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Behind the Slates. Yes. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I'm so happy to be here, to be back at Ciné. I can't believe it's almost Thanksgiving. This is crazy. I don't. Do you guys know what you're grateful for? No? This movie? This movie. That is a perfect answer. I too am grateful for this movie. I am also grateful for Ciné. That's allowing us to be here. Give it up for Ciné. And I'm grateful for all of you. I am though, guys, seriously, like, yeah, I was kind of like going off about this in the lobby. You know, you can play genre stuff, you can play horror movies, and people will come out for that. All of a sudden, you put up one of the greatest movies ever made, and it's like pulling teeth to get people to the seats. It is hard getting people out to engage with real cinema these days. So each and every one of you that showed up tonight, that got off your couch, that went through the traffic, that found the parking spot and showed up here tonight, I am so grateful for you guys. Seriously. Yes. Thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. If you've never been to a Behind the Slate podcast show, the way this works is I get up here, I give a little historical context about the film. No spoilers, but just trying to set the stage so that you can enter into this movie if you've never seen it before. Or if you've seen it multiple times, just trying to give you more info to make this kind of viewing experience joyful. So, we then watch the movie, and then after it's all done, I hop up and moderate an audience discussion. You're going to want to stick around for this one in particular, though, because we have Dr. Richard Neupert in the house. Yeah! He's going to be coming up here. Not only are we talking foremost French film scholar, maybe in the world, but a personal friend of the late, great Agnès Varda. How often do you get 1 degree of separation for one of the greatest artists of the 20th century? So Dr. Neupert's going to be coming up here, and we get to talk about Agnès, about her work, and about this film. All this audio and video is then recorded and released on the podcast feed, on YouTube, on wherever you get your podcasts. So you want to check that out. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Behind the Slate Pod, where we post all of our clips from our lobby interviews, clip from the shows, and you can find out about our future shows. We're back here every month now at Ciné. Next month, we'll be here with a Christmas classic, Eyes Wide Shut, which will be everyone's favorite Christmas movie. So, guys, tonight we are entering the world of a filmmaker whose career spans continents, it spans mediums, it spans movements. For 6 decades, she reinvented herself again and again, never losing focus of the ordinary people that most films forget about. Of course, I'm talking about Agnès Varda. And tonight we are gathered here today to watch one of her masterpieces, Vagabond from 1985. Honestly, probably my favorite film of hers, and I'm so excited that we get to watch it on the big screen. You know, by the time she made this movie, Varda had already lived multiple lives. She was the daughter of immigrants who fled from the Nazis. She was the 26-year-old photographer who had no formal film training, who made her first film at 26 years old, years before Godard and Truffaut technically started the French New Wave. She was the female member of the French New Wave who made a big splash with Cleo from 5 to 7 in 1962, and then she became half of France's most premier filmmaker power couple when she married Jacques Demy. But by the early 80s, Varda was in transition. She was over 50 years old. She had a 7-year-old son, Matthew, and also she had just become a grandmother from her oldest daughter. She was living in Los Angeles. Her previous film, One Sings, the Other Doesn't, had been a commercial failure in 1977, and she could not find financing for another film. So she's in Los Angeles, she's taking care of her son, she's writing scripts, and she's supporting her husband's Hollywood ambitions when she receives a terrible shock, as Jacques Demy decides to move out and live with his male lover. They would remain married, but would be separated until his death in 1990. Varda was devastated. As she had done so many times before, she poured herself into her work. She made a short documentary about murals in Venice Beach called Murmures, and an experimental companion piece called Documentaire, which was about a semi-autobiographical story of a woman, a single mother in a dissolving marriage. Now, she moves back to France. How many of you in this position of life would say, you know what, I've had a great run, maybe it's time to get a job, teaching, I just want a steady paycheck. I want to relax a little bit. Yes, thank you for raising your hand. I've made one fucking movie that doesn't make any money, and I'm looking for this out. Varda, keep in mind, she's 54 years old. She wants none of that shit. She scraps, she hustles, she gets every little bit of funding that she can. She makes a bunch of short documentaries from everything from architecture to photography. She does experimental TV shows. She does immersive photography exhibitions, whatever she can to survive and keep moving forward. Now, she starts working on a documentary that I think would be really cool, but probably has limited commercial appeal. It's about fungus that infects plane trees, or what we call sycamores. And as she's doing research for this film, she's traveling across the Languedoc region of France, in southern France. And she discovers a different plague. You see, France came out of the global recession of the early 80s to become the most productive economy in Europe. But as it always does, this growth had a dark side, which is income inequality. Young people from rural areas of France could not find jobs. They traveled to cities looking for work, they couldn't find any, and now we have thousands of destitute young people wandering across the country of France looking for work. Sociologists called them the nouveau pauvre, the new poor. So she starts talking to people about this new poor. She's talking to mechanics, she's talking to truck drivers, she's talking to vineyard workers. Her imagination is getting fired. She talks to a police officer. He tells her about finding the dead, frozen body of an anonymous young man underneath an apple tree. So she starts thinking that she wants to make a movie about this new poor. At first she thinks it's going to be about two men and a woman. But then she picks up a female hitchhiker, a woman named Cine Ahab. And Cine starts telling her about the trials and tribulations about being a single, lone woman on the road, the danger involved, the judgment that she faced. And in that moment, it crystallizes in Varda's mind what this movie she is trying to make is going to be. It is going to be about a single woman wandering across the countryside who rejects society and in return is rejected by her. So, late 1984, she's pretty sure what she wants to make. And at this moment, Francois Truffaut dies after having a stroke. He was 52 years old. And all of a sudden, the new wave, which had been obsessed with and defined by youth, was face to face with its mortality. And I can't help but feel that energy shrouding over this film. She wants this film to be experimental. She wants it to be like a documentary. She wants to follow wherever the winds take her. So she wants to cast all the normal people that she had been meeting on the road. She doesn't want formal actors. Someone talks her into, you know what, you need a lead. If you want to secure funding, you need to find a real actress. So she hires up-and-comer 17-year-old Sandrine Bonnaire, and she thinks that maybe this will help her get some money. Her plan is wrong. The CNC, the French institute that funds films in France, passes on the project. She's trying to sell off the TV rights, but she's trying to raise $700,000, and no one's going to give her the money. As she's searching for money, she gets an incredible turn of luck. The Légion d'honneur, the French honorary society for civic honors, contacts her. They want her to make her a chevalier. This could be a career achievement for any other artist. Varda takes the invitation, turns it over, and in a red marker writes, "I will exchange this honor for the money to make my movie." She sends it back. She hears nothing. A few weeks later, she gets a call from Minister of Culture Jack Lang. He offers her $1.4 million to make her movie. Her longtime assistant and apprentice, Patricia Mazoui, believes that it was President Mitterrand's wife that heard about her letter and advocated on her behalf. So she goes into production. She gets to production. She literally has 25 pages of scattered notes. No script, just a few story ideas. She wants to wake up every morning, write the script that morning, because she's working with all this untrained talent. So she doesn't want to freak them out. She doesn't want them to rehearsing too hard, okay? And sometimes she meets people on the road and she will just write them into the movie. This is a far more free-flowing experimental process than, say, Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, which is often upheld as sort of the model of this, but was actually very constrained by a pre-planned plot. Satina Arhab, the hitchhiker that she picked up that sparked this whole idea, worked briefly on the production. In fact, you'll see her in this film. She plays one of the people that hang out in the train station, and there's a scene of her. She's got big curly hair. She's talking to an old man in the train station. You'll see her there. But in true to her nature, the repetitive style of filmmaking didn't suit her, and one day she just wandered off of set, and I can't find any evidence that anyone ever saw her again. She finishes the film, and Unifrance, the organization dedicated to promoting French film abroad, refuses to submit this film to the Venice Film Festival. Varda, being Agnes, says, fine, fuck it, I'll submit it myself. She sends it to the Venice Film Festival. Not only does it get accepted, it wins the top prize, the Golden Lion at that year's festival. It comes back to France, it opens and sells 1 million tickets in France. Guys, Varda worked for 60 years. This was the only commercially successful film she ever made. She would work until the age of 90 in 2019. And I can't even imagine how much harder those last 30 years of her creative life would have been had Vagabond not been a success. Guys, Vagabond is a challenging movie. It is an attempt to show a life that defies definition. Inspired by the narrative-shattering work of author Nathalie Sarraute, Varda, who the film is dedicated to, by the way, Varda created this film as a collage of perspectives so that Mona, our main character, remains unknowable. I like to think Mona is not a traditional protagonist. I think that all the characters she meets are, in fact, the protagonists. Mona remains a mentor antagonist to each of them, affecting them and yet remaining a mystery. This is all by design, because Varda was not interested in constructing yet another indie character study. She wanted to make a mirror that forced all of us to look and see ourselves in our reaction to this character that lives outside of the bounds of society. So as you're watching the film tonight, I encourage you to meet Mona with an open heart and appreciate this is what you get when a master filmmaker constructs a three-dimensional portrait of the human condition in its rawest form. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy Agnès Varda's Vagabond. We start, if you've ever been to a Behind the Slate show before, we start the audience discussion off in the same way every time, with a little thing we call Letterboxd reviews. Would you be so kind as to help me read some reviews?
If I can, yes.
Okay, great. I'm going to start us off, and I'm going to hand it over to you. Okay, 4 stars and a heart. Vagabond shows us what we all know implicitly, but do not want to admit. We can try to exist outside of our systems, but the way those work makes it unfeasible. There are these people out there, and many of them find a way, but it's an existence fraught with instability. Even if it's not impossible, vagabonds continually drift in and out in both places and in our memories. Okay, next one is for you. If you'd read the star number and then read the review.
Oh, Vagabond, star 1. That's not good. François Truffaut was the one who started 4-star system back in the 1950s as a critic. Most confusing film ever. Brogue Agnes released the plot. What? Man viewers want to know what it's about. Man viewers do.
Yes. Yes. Man viewers or man viewers want to, I don't know. Okay,
Yeah,
next one.
Put some punctuation in here.
Punctuation, not Letterboxd.
Here's a 4-star. 4-star.
Yeah, read that one.
Mona, my biggest dream is to have a potato farm. Philosophy goat man. Bet you can have a bunch. What? You can have a bunch of my land for free, and I'll till the ground and help you get started on your way to fulfilling your potato farm dream. Mona, I never said that.
Okay, 5 stars. We're told early on we need to have goals, something to work endlessly for, just so you can say you've made it, even if you have to step over others to do it. Mona just said, Fuck that shit. I don't need a reason to exist. I just am. Okay, last one for you here.
Last one, thank you. 1.5 stars. They're discriminating. For the last 7 hours, I've been trying to decide if she was a girl boss or deranged. I feel as though there are no other options.
All right, thank you to the good people of Letterboxd for that. Let's just start things off. I wanna hear from you. How did you first meet Agnès Varda?
In 2002. So there was the first ever academic conference devoted exclusively to Agnès Varda, which everybody was like, "What? There's never been one." Was at my hometown, Madison, Wisconsin, and they invited me. I got to be the lead-off speaker, and it just happened that my book about the New Wave was published by Wisconsin. It had just come out, and they had it out on the table. I guess I hadn't even seen it yet, and I'm 5 minutes into my first talk, and Agnès comes walking in the room and kind of waves this book at me and sat down. So I've met her then and have known her, knew her up to, I saw her in 2018, the last time. She died in 2019. I saw her two afternoons during 2018 as well. So that was a long 16 years, I guess, I knew her.
What did she have any feedback for you in that first meeting?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
She immediately went, well, so while I'm speaking, she's going through the book, looking at herself in the index and finding out. But she just said, "I can't believe you said grandmother of the New Wave." I said, "No, I did not." I said, foolishly people call her the grandmother of the New Wave. And but yeah, so already she was like upset with her reputation. I mean, all art filmmakers have to brand themselves. And I think no one has done a better job of that than Varda in terms of, right, from day one, she had to fight to do everything. She's very controlling of her image as well. In fact, people probably know this story, but I mean, and she even told me, she says, "There's this guy who was coming around to the house all the time, asking for photo rights and film rights and things." And I finally said, "What are you going to do with this?" And he said, "I'm going to make a documentary about you." And she said, "No, you're not. If there's a documentary about me, I'm going to make it." So so she made the Beaches of Agnès because somebody else wanted to make one. She's going to say, "No, you can't have the rights." Instead of making money off her stuff, she's going to do it. And but she's fought like that since day one, trying to get things done. You mentioned that they didn't want to submit it for the Venice Film Festival. It wasn't like she didn't do the right stuff, right? I mean, she didn't have a script. She didn't have so she didn't meet their qualifications in lots of ways. So she just calls them up and says, "Take my film." So I mean, she's feisty, but she also built her brand over time and was very protective of her work and Jacques Demy's. That helps?
So what was the nature of your relationship? Like, what were you guys working on, and how did you guys know each other over those?
We just kept in touch then, and she was very. I mean, Agnès was me. I mean, people were afraid of her. A lot of people were afraid of Agnès Varda, and she was gruff, etc. But she had this huge heart, and it's a real personal story. But no, when I was in Wisconsin, my daughter needed some surgery and stuff, and I said, "I really can only be here for 3 days, and I got to get back." And she wanted to keep in touch and tell me how it went. So we just started emailing back and forth. When her son Mathieu had his son, she sent me pictures of her grandson. But I would go back for research things and go to the house, and then she would invite us all in for dinner or breakfasts, and so I've been many times to her house at conferences as well, and then in 2007 was the second conference, international conference devoted exclusively to Varda. That was in Rennes in France, and I got to be a lead-off speaker again there, and so I saw her at a number of different conferences. We were in Aix-en-Provence, there was a great conference, and we got to spend time with her and do things. So I will just tell one last little thing. So for one of those conferences, I was in Paris at this little tiny 2-star hotel, and I walked in, and the woman does, "A woman claiming to be Agnès Varda has left you a message. You're to call her." It's like, okay. Anyway, she knew I was in town, and there was the Cartier. Cartier did a great. They let her have the Cartier Museum and do this whole exhibit. And so she says, "I know you're going down to this conference. What time is your train tomorrow?" And
I'm sorry, your Agnès Varda impression is hilarious, by the way.
And I was I got to catch this 1:30 train. She's, "You must see my exhibit, but they don't open until 1 o'clock. So I will call them. you show up at 12 o'clock and they will open for you. So I mean, it was like kind of like, like, no, it's okay. I get, but so yeah, she was like one of those people who's like feisty, pushes you to do stuff. And then I get to the conference and in X, and they announce at the big opening, oh, and our guest speaker is a surprise, Agnès Varda. So like she didn't tell me, I'll see you later today. And then in the middle of the thing, there's all these people there and the reporters and stuff. And she says, has anybody here seen my exhibit? And they're like 3 hands go up. And she's, well, what is wrong with you? You're film scholars. Richard, I know you saw it. And then she puts me on the spot. What did you think of my exhibit? So she's like planted me, I realized, so that somebody would be able to talk about the damn exhibit. So anyway. But anyway, she's just a marvelous, marvelous person. And it's hard to think of the world without her.
Amazing. I want to go ahead and open it up to the audience. Does anybody have a question? Anybody have a question? Or as you're thinking of question, does anyone just have? Oh, yes, down here in front.
She made Vagabond, and then 3 years later, she did the film Jane B. by Agnès Varda.
Agnès V, yes.
What was she doing during that time until that project?
Oh gosh, I'd have to look at her filmography. She was doing, so what happens, and again, one of the things that when Cahiers du Cinema, when it came out, they just said, it's so marvelous that this movie even got made, like it's so unconventional. And so making a movie like this didn't mean people just show up and say, here's another here's another $1 million or whatever. She was working on shorts by that point. She was also going back and restoring early prints and things like that and releasing them, so DVDs and stuff, and doing her. So she was constantly working. She worked all the time, and she would go off and give guest lectures and do appearances. So she'd make that money and pour it back into the company. I don't remember what she was always working on TV stuff as well. She got hired quite often to do television little snippets, but I don't remember. You'd have to.
And she did a second movie with Jane Birkin. Shortly afterward,
Kung Fu one?
Yeah.
But
I believe both films were sort of like ruminated upon in a similar time frame of Jane Birkin kind of seeking
real
out
personal,
Agnes. And that's the one where Agnes basically moved into Jane Birkin's house, and Charlotte Gainsbourg was like, "Why is this lady like living in our house?"
And why is her son Mathieu having a sexual relationship with
Jane Birkin? It's weird. It's weird. It's a weird movie.
But she really was always working and trying to find money, and she would pretend that she never had anything, and she always would find someone to help her get things made. So.
Yeah. Anybody else have a question? Well, let me ask you, as you ruminate on a question, let me ask you this. Does anyone have just sort of a general response, like first thoughts, first feelings to having watched this movie, whether you've seen it before or this is your first time? Anyone feeling brave and would like to share? Yes. Coming down.
All right. And I do have a question at the end, but I just really connected with this movie, and like in a way,
it's
I
trying to
haven't
keep
really
you from doing
before.
that. You really, the movie's trying not to let you connect, but so that's good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Just for me, I saw a lot of myself in Mona personally, but I was just wondering for you guys, what questions do you think Agnès Varda was trying to ask when she was filming this?
Richard?
So one of the early reviews said, well, she's not asking why. She just is interested in how. But so Varda, all her career, from Plante Courte, her very first feature on, she would go out and research things. She was real into Bachelar's philosophy. She followed some of his classes at the Sorbonne about space and objects and that our human relations with our environment and things like that. So she couldn't just walk over and film something. She has to like show up there many times, take photos, think about it, talk to the people who live nearby. So she really did discover this problem of young people who were just rootless and meandering. And at the time when France's economy was supposed to be so good, there were so many unemployed youth, the drifters, etc. So she met them and hung out, and it just gradually this thing grew. So it's not like she said, I'm going to make an essay film that makes everyone help the homeless or do, right? Are you supposed to feel pity for Mona? Kinda. Are you supposed? Is there an answer? What does Mona want? I don't know. So it's not a message movie. right? I think it accumulates into a sensitivity. I mean, Agnes is the type of person who would go over and see somebody crawling out of a dumpster and talk to them. The rest of us would go, ooh, keep moving. So she's fascinated with that. And when she made the first poster, it said, she stinks, she's rude. What would you think of Mona?
Yeah. Would you let her in her
It's
car, in your
in
car? Yeah,
That was
the
kind of a
tagline.
challenge to the audience. And one of the first, there was an interview with her early on, and one of the interviewers said, Mona's kind of a Rorschach test for everybody in the movie. Whether it's the philosopher, whether it's the garagiste, the garage owner, who finds her disgusting, but he's going to go screw her in the tent. So that she's a Rorschach test, and that notion of a mirror onto the people around her. So it's really to be this cluster of moments rather than a sort of unified, she's fighting, having a classical movie story that makes sense. A character, the time sequence makes no sense in some ways. Like, wait, what came first? Who are these people talking to? Some are being interviewed, some aren't. So she's not trying to do a sort of a unified approach to a serious social problem movie, but she's raising social problems. So she's political without saying, here's what you got to think, here's what you got to do, I think. So it's exposing, making us more sensitive to people around us, right? But it's not it's not a simple Hollywood message movie.
I think I would also, just to add to that, I think there's two aesthetic choices that she is playing with and pushing against. Number one is her work has always attempted to straddle this line between narrative and documentary. I think this is the film where she really goes the farthest possible. How far can I blend these two styles, these two genres, these two conformities, and really make it feel like a docu-narrative type of thing, which it's quite amazing. She does a special feature on the DVD, and it's available on Criterion Channel, where 18 years after this movie, she goes back and finds all the people that, or tries to find all the people that played parts. So like she goes back and finds Asun, the Tunisian wine vineyard worker. He now has like a family. He still works on the same farm. And she goes back and finds all these other characters. And it really is a blending of documentary, which then stands in such opposition to sort of what was going on in the art world of French cinema in the mid 80s. Anyway, we got this like cinema du look kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, Diva, Subway,
these
glitzy stuff.
High aesthetic.
Or the big blockbusters, Danton, Depardieu movies that are trying to remake French cinema like American cinema and have blockbusters. She just, doesn't have a place in this.
Exactly. And here she comes out with just this dirty, weird, simple film. It is just such a middle finger to sort of what everyone else is doing. She always marching to the beat of her own drum, and I think working consciously in opposition to what the mainstream in French cinema at the time was up to. Anybody? Yes, sir.
So I noticed watching the movie that like a recurring motif of like puns in the movie.
With wordplay by Mona.
And I was like looking up I think the title in French is also kind of a pun.
Without a roof or the law.
Yeah, so I was just wondering about that, like if there's something she's doing there.
Yeah, Varda loves to use real words by the real people, and she interviewed a lot of these people. So it'll take me 30 seconds to get to it. Yes, when she went around and would interview people and stuff, she would also write down and record what they said, so that and take photos. And a lot of it turns out they were like almost auditioning for a part they didn't know there was going to be a movie. And then she would use their dialogue and ask them, like the garage guy or Asun, to please be in this movie. So a lot of it's real authentic, and then other things are fictional constructs of her clever narrative. So she in Cleo from 5 to 7, she writes the songs, same thing with the Gleaners, she writes the music and the songs. So she has this real sense of rhythm and wanting to include these clever bits and pieces. You've got some very carefully written things that that the characters would recite, and the whole joke on blé and wheat and bread kind of stuff. So there's lots of puns. It's good for you to pick up on that as well. Yes. So that's it's just another playfulness of her. She's a playful, serious person, and takes nothing seriously and everything seriously. But that's a touch of hers.
And for a filmmaker who has shorts included, has 60, 70 titles to her name, like half of them are puns. Like half of her movies are named in puns that like you need to know French to kind of really get. But I'm shocked by the number of films and sort of looking through her filmography was like, well, this is actually a pun on this. So
Or
lover
just-
of puns.
Or pure irony, like Le Bonheur, happiness. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, it's true.
Any other
Good stuff.
questions? Yeah, over here. Oh, thank you.
I know the film didn't give a specific answer within the narrative, but I'm curious what you both think about the electrocution scene. Whether the professor was deliberately doing that to set someone else to go find her when she was perfectly capable of going to find her herself, but she said, "Oh, I need you to go find her."
This is a great sequence. But first of all, I think so. Aaron probably knows all. Do you know about the electrocuting?
No.
Oh, so apparently this happened to somebody that Varda had recently like said, you won't believe what happened. So like Varda puts that in the movie. It is a really surreal, strange scene. It also underlines that weird relationship between the former grad student who's now her assistant and her, and she shows up with her robe on, and there's this attraction, and he's got the wife who is not sexually involved with him. So anyway, so it kind of reinforces this weird kind of jolt and stuff. But apparently it's just an anecdote, and this is kind of a new wavy kind of thing. You put in an anecdote that somebody tells you, I'll put that in my movie. But what's really important is that she needs a motivating factor to say, go look for the girl, I think. And so she uses that for that excuse. But the thing that makes the movie time and space also confusing is she's going to say, I'm worried about her. I saw her flash more than anybody in my life, go find her. And the very next scene is going to be, the sexual assault, where she's dropped her off and there's a sexual assault in the woods, which makes me wonder, right? Is everything real that we see? Is nothing real that we see? So was Mona really attacked in the woods, or is this because that's what the woman was worried about? I'm really not sure. So I think it's a really, really rich scene on lots of different levels. But yeah, it was in some ways just a weird anecdote. Somebody she knew almost got electrocuted in the bathroom.
I thought it was weird.
There's a lot of weird moments.
Yeah, anybody else? Oh, first, and then you.
I love that you mentioned that it's not super clear whether everything happening to Mona is real or not. Because the immediate thought I had when I saw that was, I feel like I'm partially influenced by a debate I was having with one of my friends recently about whether people are more humanity is morally good or not, or whether we have intrinsic morals. You'll see where I'm getting at with this.
I hope you have some fun conversations too.
Because how we have religion or states or whatever, so that we can say murder is bad or rape is bad. And so I feel like in a way I can't remember what her profession was, but that woman's the professor,
the
right?
tree doctor.
Yeah.
And again, initially it was going to be more about the trees and her, and then it got more fascinated with the
where
drifter woman.
She wants to be free spirited and be like Mona and interact with nature and be outside, but then there's this lingering feeling of, oh well, there's still I have to worry about my survival, I have to worry about these other things. That I was just wondering whether you thought there was any moral stuff like that she was maybe trying to go for, if you thought about that. Based on your reaction, I'm thinking no.
I'm not.
But
No, I'm not. But I mean, she wants to show all these different alternatives and choices, and that more and more people start to so even that the nephew, her assistant, who's the nephew, and you start to get those crossing things, is oh, even I feel lost sometimes. So I think she does want to make it feel everybody's kind of unsure of their own motives and et cetera. Whereas I think the professor thinks she's got this noble job. I'm trying to save these trees, and Mona's like, screw it, they're trees. But then pretends later she knows something about the stuff.
Also, do you have what was going on with that radish scene and the fight
In the greenhouse?
at the end with the
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, it's about, yes. Does anybody know? And Jonathan, have you ever heard about this? So it's a sort of good luck kind of ritual for the spring, that they're getting the dregs from last year's wine, and they have, because everybody else knows, oh, here it comes. And but I mean, Varda said in something that, oh well, it's just before Lent. not Ash Wednesday, but like it's almost like it's that time of year. It's like this event anyway that apparently comes in the spring that you get out the old dregs from that they're putting the vine. Anyway, they're doing something with the wine, so they got all the dregs, and it's something for next year's harvest. But it's like the med schools. I mean, in France, sometimes you'll be walking down the street and people start to run, and the med students come out and they like throw milk and water or milk and flour all over people and run and laugh because they just graduated from their med school. Or I mean, there's these weird kind of rituals. So, but it's supposed to be a fertility thing, and it is very surreal, and
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot of surreal touches that are not real logical necessarily, and it doesn't explain it. She's not going to explain what. She's just going to show the how of things. And like Varda said, it's the objects. It's what people do. She says the way that Mona eats sardines with her fingers out of a can, or tries, or breaks that baguette. That's what's more important than why she's on the road. And it's like, I'm not sure everybody would agree with that, but to her, it's those kind of just the event is more important than sort of the logic behind it.
And she also, it's a real folk festival that takes place. They tried to drop Sandrine Bonnaire into the middle of this actual folk festival where these guys would actually like attack her and smear her with the dregs. But it was like too chaotic, and like someone got dregs all over the camera, and so then they had to take it to a different town and restage it. But it is a real thing. It is a real thing. Yes. Moving over to you.
I wanted to ask you if you could say a few words about the symbolic significance of the fungus in the plane trees, or if there was one, or if it was just incidental to the story.
She cares.
I mean,
about the
yeah.
trees. She really. I mean, she was upset by hearing these stories and doing that, and she became very concerned with them.
I mean, this is like
symbol,
like following up on the previous question about sort of like moral, like Varda does not strike, she's not one for moral certainty in her films. Like she's a true humanist in the sense that like everything is like her morals are communicated through jokes and winks rather than like one-to-one symbolic representations. A more like, like a more Socratic kind of speaking in riddles to like get you to find the truth type of thing. I mean, it's a real thing that was happening to sycamores in southern France, which are introduced. And it is a real like problem. But it'd be the same thing that if I was to incorporate like the death of the Eastern hemlock, into a narrative here, like this is a very real problem that happens in the Eastern US.
So this is perfect because she always says, I hate symbolism. I don't use symbols. But what she wants is to put, I like signs and, and meaning, So basically, I'm going to put this stuff out there, and it's up to you to figure out what's symbolic, what things mean. I mean, it really is, she allows and forces us. I mean, she doesn't give us an easy story about anything here. She forces us to sort of think about it. So she likes discussions. She likes the thoughts about it as well, but she's not going to say, yes, I put that in there so that you would think the following. So that goes right to what you're saying.
Yeah. But I think it's such a cool
meander. You can deal with it as you wish. She's not making anything easy for us in most of her movies.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But
okay. I have a question for the audience. This movie, I like I said in the intro, I truly believe it's about showing you a person who does not fit into the conventions of society, and your reactions kind of tell you about you, your reactions to her. Would anybody like to share their reactions to Mona over the course of this film? Yes.
I don't know, maybe this is because I just read the logline. I'm not really that well versed in French cinema, but and just like the opening shots, all I could really think about was how much it kind of reminded me of like the opening scenes of Twin Peaks, where they find Laura Palmer's body. So all I could think about was how it was just like...
That's great.
Well, it in a lot of ways, I was just like, oh, is this going to be that kind of a thing? And then in a lot of ways, it was just like a complete like inverse, which was, I mean, I don't really have anything more to say. It was just completely opposite, but at the same time, very, very similar. I don't know if there was a link, if Lynch had ever seen this or anything like that, but that was just what struck me. But I don't know. I recently finished Twin Peaks, so maybe it's just on my mind.
And I will say, I mean, this film influenced lots of filmmakers, and especially women filmmakers. And David Lynch also had a big exhibit at that Cartier Museum, so there's a connection there. He's very aware of her. But also, like Nomadland, you know, she loved this movie, and when she made Nomadland, watched it. Also, Frozen. Oh no, Winter's Bone. There are a lot of films I think about a young woman who's very attractive. You have to muddy up and put on through some excruciating experiences. But anyway, that misled from your
No,
your next question about.
It's good stuff. Anybody else want to share reactions to Mona? Yeah.
Say the moans.
Well, this is more visceral. I just had a lump in my throat the whole time, the entire movie, start to finish. A lump.
Worried about her or what?
She
Lump?
just gave me a lump in my throat. You know when you, like, you're about to sob.
Yeah, it's based partly on like Varda saying "screw you" to Citizen Kane, right? You die at the beginning, then you have a bunch of people get interviewed to find out what you're supposed to know about the person. So it's got that tragic thing at the beginning, like Double Indemnity and a film noir and stuff. So yeah, it's a doomed. You know it's not going to have a happy ending, and the music probably doesn't help either.
Yeah.
But yeah, that notion of it's just a sad waste of a life, even though we don't know much about her, right? Is that kind of what led to that emotion, or
And
what?
I don't even know if it's just sadness, because I think it's I think it's I don't know. I don't know if it's a sad lump entirely. I think it's mixed. I don't know. It's just a visceral, like hitting the bread,
Yeah.
simple as that. It's a lump in my throat. That was my reaction to her.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Ah,
Oh.
all right.
Swallowed tears. I haven't heard that before. I
There's
love that.
One in the aisle. What? And while you go there, I'll say Le Monde in France said their reaction to Mona's blank face can suddenly explode with laughter, but she's incredibly exasperating and lazy as a rock.
I identify with a lot of the things she says and a lot of the things she feels. Like, a lot of society is BS, and the not knowing what she wants to do with her life, that's very relatable. But at the same time, I don't identify with her. She's so different. Her existence is so different from, mine. And I guess I like the ambiguity of the movie. Nobody was really reducible, and I don't know. There isn't exactly very few. There aren't really heroes or villains, and like even for most of the movie, she's seen as kind of a sponge and a bit of a mooch. But then that one scene with the Tunisian guy, she showed that she was actually maybe willing to work, and that incident was not her fault.
Yeah, I mean, in
Good
the way
points.
that like great cinema takes us into worlds that seem alien to us, that we cannot access, and I think this film certainly accomplishes that. And really, a huge credit to Varda's research, her attention to detail, and her attention to realism. Yeah, last one, and then we'll wrap things up. Yeah.
Well, what I can say is, though I did say I kind of connect with her aspects of feeling lonely, of like people pushing her out, but at the same time, she is so like unknowable, and like is in a situation that is just really worst case scenario. My heart broke for her in that, and it kind of felt like a tragedy.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if you ever saw it. There's one review, in fact, that even said this is like this a sad journey, but she's also like a working class Mona Lisa. This notion of that blank face that everybody can project what they want onto it, but you have no idea like what's really behind it as well.
Yeah. I just want to wrap things up with this. Richard, I wanted to ask you, why do you think that Agnès Varda's work continues to resonate with modern audiences when so many other new wave directors, I think, are beginning to feel a little dated, and yet Varda continues to feel fresh, quite modern? What do you think that is?
I think a lot of it, part of it is her personality and this notion of, you know, this hardworking woman who taught herself to make movies in the 50s, and here I am, I'm producing, writing, doing stuff. So there's just a fascination if people know about her. But I do, I compared to Chabrol, who did lots and lots, New Wave, who did lots and lots of generic stuff. As you mentioned, Truffaut's going to die. But by 2000, by the 80s, 90s, etc., Romer keeps doing exactly what they're kind of in, they have their own things. Even Godard changes from, you know, in lots of ways, but he's still doing Godard movies. Everything she did was different. I think it's really, she had these essences to her work, but there was always something new and novel. It mixes experimentation with something emotional you can capture as you watch it. But I've got to admit, I'm not sure. And people have gone back over and over now and going back to her early movie from the 54, Pointe Courte, is getting more attention now than it did 20 years ago or 40 years ago. So I'm not quite sure. People in the room would have better answers, I think, you know, why people are interested in going back and looking at Varda's earlier stuff, but also, yeah, during her career. But she changed herself over and over and over, became a performance artist. She would walk around and do things out in the public streets. She's had museum installations. She's done all kinds of TV stuff. She's done everything from autobiographic films. So you can't put her in an easy box and say, stay in there, Agnes, and do what you do well. She just does experiments with all kinds of stuff. And she was one of the great photographers. She has thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of photographs that she took in China, in Cuba, in the 50s and 60s, and right up to today, or when she died. So with Visage Village, the Faces and Places movie. So she's interested in people. She was interested in people and interacting with her audiences. I think she's just had a rare connection to critics and to people. And especially young people. She liked young people as well.
I believe the term is bad motherfucker. Agnès Varda is one bad motherfucker. Guys, I want to thank you all so much for coming out to this Behind the Slate Presents, this Behind the Slate presentation. Please come back in December, I believe December 18th for Eyes Wide Shut. It's going to be super fun. In the meantime, hang out in the lobby. Check out the t-shirts and posters we got, and get home safe. Thanks, y'all, so much.
Thanks, Aaron.
And thank you, Dr. Neupert. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.